Good morning, Carolina Village. My name is Aline, and you are here for another session of the Village Vitality Series. Welcome. I'm so glad you've decided to join me this morning. And today I have a class planned that will address the whole body. And actually, that's kind of my theme today is the whole. And I do try to address the whole body in all of our classes, but I was just inspired today by conversations I've been having with folks and the traps that we fall into around our bodies and our body image. Doesn't matter how old you are, we typically have insecurities about our bodies or what we think of as problem areas. And so I've heard countless times about wanting to get rid of the gut, wanting to get rid of the thighs, wanting to get rid of the flab under the arm, and many other things. And I challenge you to shift your perspective. So if you are the person that does tend to focus on stuff like that, I challenge you to shift your perspective and think of your wellness, your health, your physical wellness as more of a whole. So trying to come to a more holistic approach. If we focus on being more powerful in our bodies, more easeful in our bodies, more flexible in our bodies, then typically all the other stuff comes along with it. If we only focus on, I got to do a million crunches to get rid of this, then we run into issues. We're not addressing our heart. We're not addressing other joints, other muscles. We probably will develop some back problems, some spinal issues, because that's not the best movement to do repetitively. And so, again, looking at the big picture can often be healthier. In terms of our setup today, you see how I've got the mat set up, so go ahead and set yours up accordingly if you do have a mat. And I do have my little hand towel today. We will be doing some hip circles, and I might want that to help me. You'll notice I have my blocks under the chair. Blocks are definitely not necessary, but it might be a worthwhile tool to invest in. And when we do come back to in-person classes, yoga specifically, which will hopefully be very soon, then you can bring your own with you, and you know for sure that only your germs are on them. And all right, so let's go ahead and have a seat. Now, in terms of the centering practice that I chose today, I chose one called square breathing. I think this fits really nicely into our theme of the whole, because we're looking at the breath as a whole, not just the inhale and the exhale, but also the pauses in between. Also, this breathing technique is phenomenal for stress relief. And I don't know about you guys, but I have been quick to anger, quick to frustration, quick to get stressed out. And this type of breathing technique and mindfulness and meditative practice absolutely 100% scientifically helps with that. And this is actually a technique, I know I've told you this before if you've done it with me, that the U.S. Navy SEALs use. And we know if they're utilizing this, they're not wasting their time on anything that's not effective. So this is a great one for lowering blood pressure, heart rate, breathing frequency, all of those things. When we lower them, stimulates a relaxation response in the body. So think of the square breathing. You can even draw a square in your mind as you go through this technique. We're going to inhale for 4 counts, hold the inhale for 4, exhale for 4, and hold the exhale for 4. And I realize that probably looked more like a rectangle actually, but even number of counts for each of the 4 sections of breath. If 4 counts is too much, then drop it down to 3 or 2 or 1 count. But keep in mind, you can always tweak how quickly you count. So it can still be a 4 count, but maybe you're just counting faster. So for this technique, we do want to be open in the front of the body so that we get the maximum breathing capabilities. So if you're going to use the support of your chair, try to scoot your hips all the way back so that you're very tall and supported in your seat. If you want to work more on all of these muscles around the core in terms of helping with your posture and your strength, then you may want to come to the middle of the seat or the edge of the seat. If you do have issues with the feet falling asleep, numbness in the hips or legs, then either don't sit at the edge, or if you do, just make sure that you shift every so often during our centering and our warm-up. All right, so get ready. Figure out how you want to sit today. Find some good alignment, whether you're all the way back here or all the way to the front. We want to try to square off the body. I'm probably going to say square and whole a lot of times today, since that's our theme. And so once you have found your seat for centering, let the eyes close. Just start to observe all of that inner landscape. I think we spend a lot of time, whether it's purposeful or not, ignoring our bodies. It may be purposeful if we have a lot of issues, a lot of health problems, a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort. And that may be a preservation technique, but see if you can try to move away from that default mode of ignoring. And if you can lean in instead, observe, understand, almost like you're allowing your body to voice its complaints. Everyone wants to be heard when they have complaints. And so possibly you might be able to change at least your perspective, if not actual physical discomfort, by listening and observing. And shift your focus a little bit more to the breath now. And just observing that natural pause. It's very short, but there should be a natural pause between inhale and exhale. And so with this breathing technique, we just seek to lengthen that pause. And so when you're ready, you can begin 4-count inhale, which may be a little bit deeper than your natural breathing, and that's good. That works the lungs and the musculature around the abdomen. So 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, without any kind of pressure. You're not gripping, body is relaxed. 4-count exhale, 4-count hold. 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, 4-count exhale, 4-count hold. Continue in this manner, again adjusting if needed, either counting faster or slower, or adjusting the count up or down. But just make sure that you try to give equal time in each of the 4 parts of the breath. You might even want to draw a square and visualize those lines. And as you breathe here, perhaps visualizing. Stay aware of the posture. It's very easy to start to go into your default spinal flexion, so that kind of folding down, hunching down. So try to keep the chest open, the shoulders down and back, the head centered over the shoulders. And remember, if you start to get dizzy, a little lightheaded feeling, start to yawn more than once, that may be cues that your body has basically reached a point where you should stop your breathing technique, or at least pause it for a moment. But if you're not getting any of those cues, then keep going. 4 count inhale, 4 count hold, 4 count exhale, 4 count hold. Make sure the jaw's relaxed, the face is relaxed, and the tongue is relaxed. Even on those holds, we don't want that to translate to holding tension in the body. And that's one of the powerful things about this type of practice, is we're teaching ease. We're teaching our bodies, instead of responding in a stressful way, to respond in a relaxed way. And hopefully we notice that beyond just this class. As we practice more and more, it becomes habit for the body. Take about 2 to 3 more rounds of your square breathing, and then we'll begin to add some movement. So of course, if you need to shift a little bit side to side, it's best to try to prevent the numbness from happening instead of waiting until it happens and then doing something about it. So we'll begin our movement with working with the neck. And so after you've released this square breathing, on your next exhale, just drop the left ear down to the left shoulder. Next exhale drops chin to chest. Next exhale presses right ear to right shoulder. And inhale to come up. And just cycling through these half circles. We never want to drop the head back. We have really delicate little vertebral arteries that loop in and out around the vertebrae, all along the spine, but especially at the neck, we can damage those a little more easily. And so we just want to circle to the sides and to the front. It should get adequate stretching and releasing of tension in the neck. Go ahead and circle one more time in that same direction. Just moving breath by breath. And then go ahead and reverse direction. So the next time you lift the head to center, now start to drop right ear to right shoulder. And then chin to chest. And then left ear to left shoulder. And then head up. Couple more circles in that direction. Take note of your posture. Again, do you need to lift up and out through the top of the body a little bit more? Shoulders should remain relaxed, whether they do so naturally or you kind of have to force them down. Take one last circle. And bringing that head back to center. Let's move a little bit more now into the shoulders with some shoulder circling. So inhaling both shoulders up, exhaling to roll them back and down. Inhaling kind of forward and up, exhaling back and down. Arms just kind of stay relaxed. They can hang out by the sides. You can get your elbows into it a little bit, but really the focus should be at the shoulder joint. And just be very mindful if you're dealing with any shoulder issues currently, rotator cuff problems, frozen shoulder. This movement should be okay for most shoulder issues, but just be very mindful of whether you feel any increased pain or sharp shooting or pinching pain, and then you want to back off a little bit. Go ahead and reverse directions. So we're kind of squeezing back, up, and then forward and down. And it's okay to let the upper body move a little bit here, but we want to try to keep the core engaged and keep that relatively still. Just moving with the breath. I think I feel too relaxed from that breathing technique. So wake up a little bit. Take one more circle forward. And let's go ahead and get into the hips, and then we'll work the whole spine. So you might want to grab your towel here. We'll be doing hip circles. And so if you don't have a towel, you'll probably want to interlace the fingers underneath the knee and circle. If you can, it's ideal to only use one hand. That way you can get more range of motion and open that hip further out to the side. And of course, if you have a towel and you would like to use that, I do recommend one hand with that as well. But of course, you can do both. And so just here, trying to open out as far as you can, circle down, circle up as much as you can without rounding. So we still want to maintain that upright posture. And hear all those pops going on. Typically that's ligaments and the soft tissues kind of moving across the bones or within the joint itself. And as long as it's not associated with pain, you're fine. It's pretty normal. Go ahead and reverse directions of your circle if you haven't already. And so again, this exercise is a great example. I am focusing on health in the hip joint, mobility there, but I'm engaging my core. I'm engaging my back. I am working my muscles. So I'm addressing a health, not an aesthetic, yet I'm getting aesthetic benefit from it. So sometimes we got to let go in order to receive. Anyway, relax that leg. You can send that towel behind you, drape it somewhere so you can grab it again for the next leg. But let's go ahead and take that same leg we were working with, the right leg. We're going to interlace those hands under and move through some cat and cow tilts with the leg. So for cow, pressing the belly forward, pressing the chest forward. See if you can draw that knee up towards the chest. Lift the chin. And on your exhale, opposite shape. Press navel to spine. Straighten that leg out. The weight of the leg can give a really nice stretch to the back here. So inhaling up and exhaling down. It's okay if you can't straighten your leg or if you can hardly pull that leg in towards your chest. You're just working with your body right now to try to mimic this movement as closely as you can. It's going to look different for everybody. On that exhale, see if you can really scoop and hollow out the abdomen. So pressing that navel towards the spine. Powerful exhale and engagement of the abdominals. One more. And inhaling back to center, release that foot down. Go ahead and send those hands back behind you. Straighten out that right leg, the same leg we've been working with, and straighten out that left arm. So again, just a slight abdominal engagement here. If you feel like it's too much of an engagement, you can sit upright, but it'll make the leg movement a little harder. So I recommend trying it with that partial lean back, and you're supporting yourself here with the right hand just a little bit. Don't want to dump into that side. Do want to still stay engaged. We're just going to lift that leg slightly just to free up the ankle joint and just circling the ankle and the hand. So we're still in warm-up mode, so any activation of our muscles we don't want to overdo. And it's okay if my hand and ankle are not circling in the same direction. That's fine. Go ahead and reverse directions. I think I reversed one and not the other. So maybe you should be circling the same direction for both. And let's shift that to a pointing and flexing. So I'm going to point and spread those fingers wide, flex and make a fist. Point, fingers spread, flex, strong fist. So I'm starting to engage the shoulder muscles here a little bit more. These types of exercises are great for people that suffer from arthritis. It might not feel great, but it is really good for those joints. All those small little joints in the fingers and the hand. We have so many little bones in here that can be afflicted. One more. And go ahead and relax. Shake out those legs if you need to. Let's take all that on the other side. So if you used the towel and you liked that, that's what we're going with. Next is our leg circles. Otherwise, just using one or both hands. And circling out, down and around. Again, trying to get the biggest range of motion as possible. Sitting up tall, engaging those abdominals. Just observing potentially little pops here and there. Try to press actively down into the right foot. That should help you remain upright. Reverse directions of your circles. And I do want to mention those of you that do suffer from arthritis might not want to use the towel. It does promote your hand to, you do have to grip. And so you might actually find it easier to just have the whole hand under that thigh. But you've probably figured that out on your own. Or it might not be true for you because everyone's different. All right, bringing that leg back into center. We are done with that towel. Well, actually, go ahead and put it back on the back of your chair just in case. We'll be doing a stretch at the end during cool down that your towel might help you with. So drawing now that left knee into the chest, interlacing those fingers under the leg. Inhaling, drawing the knee in, belly forward, chest forward, chin up. But we're not just letting the head fall back. So exhaling, scooping out the abdomen, rounding out the back, dropping that head down, straightening the leg. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Really try to flow here at the pace of your breathing. And if you can't quite manage one long inhale for this movement, at least start the back bend on an inhale. And then start the forward bend on an exhale. One more cycle, inhaling and exhaling. And go ahead and release that leg down. Hands come back behind you. Right arm forward. So again, we're in a slight tilt. Abdominals are engaged. I'm trying to press forward with my back. So you want to feel the back engaging as well, and just really avoiding this rounding, even though it's subtle. Really want to try to lift up and press forward. So that means back engages as well. Just a slight lift with that foot in order to give full range of motion. And I'm going to circle both in the same direction this time. So trying to get through the wrist and the ankle. Notice I'm kind of manipulating my fingers and my toes here too. So just trying to wake up all those little joints, because we will need them to be able to work, hold our weight throughout our practice today. Reverse directions. Get out all the little pops from the ankle. If you didn't hear any popping in the hip, you're probably going to hear it in the ankle. And let's point, spread those fingers, flex, make a fist. Really engage all the muscles in that arm. So we can help to strengthen the arms a little bit just by doing this kind of isometric, powerful engagement. And since we're holding it for a few seconds, that can actually have some effect. And not just looking at, range of motion and the fingers and the hand. One more point and one more flex. And go ahead and relax that leg down. Shake out those legs again if you need to here. And let's take our first vinyasa sequence. So if you're not at the edge of your chair, definitely move forward now. For this forward fold, let's create a little more space for the abdomen. So go ahead and walk those feet a little wider apart. The only time you wouldn't want to do this is if when you forward fold, you already feel a little bit like you might come forward out of your chair. This will probably make you feel even more so, like you might come forward. So if you're a little wary about that, go ahead and keep those feet hip distance apart. Otherwise, it's great to create a little more room for the torso and the abdomen and the chest, and you can move a little deeper into your forward fold potentially. And also, we're going to be doing a little bit of back strengthening here, and that wider stance of the feet just helps support you a little bit more, so you can engage the back more. All right, so let's take a deep inhale to lift those arms. Exhale to fold forward. Either arms stay lifted, they come to the sides, or hands can come to the thighs. Folding down. Allow yourself to fully release while you're down here. If you have blocks, this can be a place where you use those. I probably should have told you that before you came down. But if you want a little more support, hands can come to blocks. Hands can even come to blocks out in front of you so that you're getting a little bit more into the shoulders and even a little more tractioning or lengthening of the spine. And keep in mind the different options for height in terms of giving you support. Ugh, this is one of my favorites to incorporate with the blocks. Personally, feels amazing to me. You're going to slowly start to come up here in a minute. On an inhale, starting to re-engage in the back and pressing actively into the feet. Hands can come to the thighs for support. Try to lengthen the spine as quickly or as early in the lift as you can so that you're not rounding the back when you come up. Inhale all the way up. Let's take that back bend. Hands come to the chair, pressing forward through the chest and the belly, lifting the chin. Just a breath or two here. On an exhale, relaxing. And we're going to work on some of that back strengthening. You have 3 different options with your hands in terms of how much challenge you would like. So hands can be here at the rib cage. We're going to essentially be folding forward and coming up, but we're only going forward just until that point before my back would start rounding if I moved any further. So if my back would start to round about right here when I fold forward, then I want to only go about this far. So again, right before that rounding would occur. So I can have my hands like so on my folds. If I want a little more challenge, out to the sides. If I want the most challenge, hands above me. And I can even use that block to just engage the arms even that much more. So I'll feel a lot more arm engagement here because I'm not gripping it with my fingers. I'm pressing in with my palms in order to hold that block and keep it from dropping. Okay, so we're going to do 5 folds, take a little rest, 5 more, so for a total of 10. So choose how you would like to go. I'm going to demonstrate this way with the first 5, just in case those of you that have blocks would like to try it. So take a deep inhale, find length. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up. Strengthen the back and the core here. And inhale, up. Here's 3. 4. And 5. Relax for a second, especially if you had arms up with the block or without, or arms out. You're going to want to kind of maybe swing those arms out a little bit. For these last 5, decide you might want to take it down a notch. If you started losing the breathing, if you started noticing the back was rounding, you're probably pushing a little too hard. And so take it down a step. So decide. Let's get ready for those last 5. Deep inhale and exhale, fold. Inhale up. Here's 2. Neck is staying neutral, meaning I'm not looking up or down. I'm just keeping the neck in line with the rest of the spine the whole time. 2 more. Last one. Let's see if we can hold it here, but breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, and inhale to come up. Exhale, relax. Set that block down if you were using it. Maybe roll those shoulders out. Let's take a deep inhale to lengthen. Exhale to shift back. Abdominals are the focus next. So we did the back there. We want to focus on the front. Remember, the whole is what we're focusing on today. Bring those feet back to hip width apart. We're going to work with abdominal strengthening and hip flexor strengthening here in the right leg to start. So you're going to tuck that right knee towards the chest. Straighten the leg out. Tuck and straighten. Whew, feel that whole core tightening up and engaging. If you are not feeling it very much, try leaning back further, but without actually using the chair. Or try one arm forward or both arms forward. But for me, that really causes me to want to round when I have both arms forward. So you just got to be very careful. Just breathing regularly here. Going for 5 more. 4, 3. Really press that chest and belly forward. 2. And 1. And release that leg down. You're probably really feeling it in the hip flexor, the front of that right hip. Let's give that a nice little stretch next. So we're going to transition into our high lunge. And so I've just kind of kept my right foot where it was, more or less. And I'm shifting over in my chair. You can always reposition however you need to. Should feel that lovely stretch in the front of that hip. So I really want to try to press that right hip down. I do want to try to straighten that leg back behind me as much as I can. That's going to maximize the stretch. So if I just have my knee in line with my hip, probably not feeling it much there in the hip flexor. So I really want to try to get that knee back behind the hip. Try to keep the chest open. Think about dropping the tailbone down. You'll be surprised at how that amplifies the stretch. Okay, let's start to focus now a little bit more on leg strengthening. So I really want to make sure that I'm able to press into that left foot and that my knee is in line over the ankle. Might want to walk the back toes in just a little bit. Right arm can be up, it can be at the hip, or it can be at the chair if you're really feeling unstable. But I do recommend trying to avoid this because it's going to cause you to want to twist the upper body, and we do want to try to stay squared off. What we're going to do next is straighten and activate that back leg, press into both feet, and see if we can lift up and away from the chair, and then relax back down. Inhaling, pressing up, exhaling down. Now my knee is going to move behind my ankle a little bit. That's okay. Up and down. I just don't want it to straighten out entirely. So if you do find it straightening, you want to start with walking that heel a little closer in. Let's try 2 more lifts. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Relax that arm. Shift back over to the middle. And finishing up with this right leg. I know you thought it was done, but it's not. We're going to lean back again. More core work here, but then focusing now on inner and outer thigh. I told you we were going to do whole body here. Also working a little on arm strength with our holding of the weight here. So straightening out that right leg. Again, finding length here all the way through, really pressing that chest forward. You're going to lift that right leg, open it out as far as you can, bring it back and down. Lift, open, back and down. Press actively into that left foot. Remember, if you want more challenge for the abdominals, maybe this left arm lifts away. Really working the hip here, y'all. Well, really whole body, but 3 more. Regular breathing. Don't hold the breath. It's very easy to do accidentally. Last one, when you open it out to the side, go ahead and let the leg fall down there. Slide that foot in a little bit. We're just going to take a little inner and outer thigh stretch. So that knee is bent. And I'm just going to kind of lean forward and experiment with where I go to feel the most stretch. Oh, yeah. So for me, it's kind of over to the right a little bit and a little forward. and I feel that nice stretch in the inner thigh, a little bit in the outer hip, we're going to do an even better stretch for the hip at the end of class. You might even want to press with your elbow, your right elbow, kind of pushing back and away to increase the stretch there. Just a breath or two, decompressing a little bit. On an inhale, come up and go ahead and bring those legs back to center. Maybe even wiggle them around. Shake it out if you need to. We'll do all of that now on the other side. I'm going to turn my chair just so that you can see me a little bit better on this side when we go into that lunge position. So what you can do is maybe grab some water and get ready for the other side. So remember, we do want to have the feet in a little wider stance if that is okay to you and feels fine for that forward fold. But at least at a minimum, we want that wide leg stance for our half folds to strengthen the back and the core. So edge of the seat, feet wide, maybe the width of the mat. If you don't have a mat, it's about shoulder width or a little wider. On an inhale, arms come up. Exhale, decide how you want to fold. Coming all the way down. And relaxing down here. Remember the different options. Maybe the blocks come into play here and you reach out. Maybe you're using the blocks for support because you don't want to fold quite so far forward and you want to keep the head lifted in line with the heart. Maybe you're taking those arms and grabbing the elbows and coming down deeper into your stretch. Maybe you're reaching for the legs of the chair. So many options. See where you'd like to go today. We'll hang out here for about 3 more breaths. So a little bit longer in this forward fold. You might even want to incorporate a little rocking side to side like I'm doing. The only time you want to avoid a deep forward fold like this, and sorry I should have said it before we went into it, is if you have a herniated disc. It's not that you can't do this movement, but it may tweak it. You might want to avoid it. So when you're ready, slowly start to come up. Hands can come to thighs. Remember, you want to try to lengthen the spine and get into that back bend type position as soon as you can coming up. Reach those hands back. Deep inhale to press forward into your back bend. Breathing here. And on an exhale, relaxing. Let's get ready for those 10 half folds. And so remember here, the most important thing is to make sure that you're not doing, and I'll just have my arms up so you can see my spine better. Make sure that you're not doing this. So the reason why this is not the best is I'm just flexing and straightening the spine. I'm not really working and strengthening the back muscles. I need to maintain this alignment and this length of the ribs over the hips or in line with the hips the whole time. So I don't want my ribs to fold forward. I want my whole torso to fold forward. So if you're not able to do this, that may mean that you're just folding like this far. That's fine. You're still strengthening the back, but you're working within the appropriate range of motion. Okay, so let's get ready. I know it's so hard when I can't see you to tell you how far you should go or how to correct. So I'm just trying to give you as many hints and cues as possible. So if you want to, you're using your block. You can even use your block with the hands down like so, so the block at the chest, and still work on strengthening the arms, but a little less intense than overhead. So decide how your arms are going to go overhead, Maybe out to the sides, maybe here, maybe with a block. Again, lots of options. Let's take that first fold. So we're exhaling to fold as far as you can without rounding the back, and inhaling up. Exhaling, fold. So really trying to keep the neck in line with everything else. 3. 4. After this 5th one, we're going to take a little break. Not too long, though. And release those arms. If you don't want to take a break, keep going while we're breaking. Maybe you'll end up doing about 15-ish. All right. Those of you who are taking a little break, get ready to do the next 5. So bring your arms wherever you're going to go for those last 5. Here we go. Exhale forward. Inhale up. 2. Keep that core engaged. 3. Slow and steady movement, not jerky or fast. 4. On that 5th one, can we hold it? 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly come up. Nice work. Relax those arms down if you had them up. Send that block off to the side. Let's bring those feet back to hip width. Hinge back to focus a little bit more on engaging the front of the body now. We worked a lot on the back of the body, so let's even it out. Straightening out that left leg this time. You're going to tuck and extend. Gosh, I should have mentioned on the other side if this is too challenging. So I gave so many options to increase the intensity, but if it's too much to do this, then when you straighten the leg, relax that heel down. And hopefully y'all figured that one out just intuitively if you were having trouble with it. But you'll tuck and then send the leg straight down, rest that heel for a moment. Okay, so let's go. We're trying for 10 of these. 2, 3. Keep that core engaged. Keep pressing that chest forward, navel forward. 5, 6. Woo. 7. Stay with it if you can. Keep breathing. 8, 9, and 10. Tuck. And then release that leg down. Whew. Let's stretch out the hip flexor and the abdominals, starting to shift over into your high lunge position. So remember, to begin, hips are just supported on the chair. Pivot onto those back toes. That will really help you to rotate that left hip forward. And then if you think of tucking the tailbone, you should feel that increase the stretch across the front of that hip. So right now we're not so focused on what is our body doing other than just stretching for a moment. Next, we'll get into a little bit of strengthening in the lower body and upper body because we will ideally have that left arm overhead. So go ahead and relax that back leg now for a moment. Position that right foot so that you feel comfortable putting weight into it. And you might want to just slide that heel in so it's a little bit behind the knee, because once you stand up, then it will bring it into alignment. Might want to walk the back toes in a little bit closer. You'll just have to experiment with this first lift. So go ahead and lift up for a moment. See where your feet end up. Come back down. Do you want to make any adjustments? Or did you feel pretty good about that? If you felt pretty good, then you're just staying where you are. Otherwise, you're taking this time to adjust. Let's bring that left arm up if you feel okay doing so. Shoulder down. And we're going to lift Inhaling, exhaling down. Inhaling up. Even here, can you engage that core? 3. Inhale up for 4. And last one. Not doing 10 of these because this is pretty intense. Release down. Relax that leg, relax that arm. Start to shift forward again. Also, we needed to save some energy for this last bit of effort while we're seated here. So again, coming to the edge of the chair, tilting back, but keeping all of this nice and straight. Even again, the sensation of pressing forward may help keep you from disengaging and relaxing. So straightening out that left leg. We're lifting that leg, opening it out, bringing it back and down. Lift, open, back, and down. When you open, your goal is to not let that heel or leg drop lower than where you started. So if I lifted to about here, I want to try to keep that height as I open out and as I bring it back in. 4 more. Woo. Here's 3. Keep breathing, y'all. This one is too easy to hold the breath. Breathe ferociously if you need to. Last one. When you open it out, let it go while it's out there. Pretty much putting you in a decent position to stretch. So you just want to slide that heel in. And then play around with where you feel the most stretch. I even kind of move a little bit into a twist. And again, I'm pressing against that leg with my elbow. But it just, honestly, it depends on how flexible you are. You may feel way of enough sensation just hinging forward in 1 inch. So again, it just depends. Play around with your body. And just enjoy that stretch for about another 5-10 seconds. Couple more breaths. And we'll get ready to come up to standing. So slowly coming up. Bring that foot back in. If you can't get up out of your chair without using your hands, then don't do chair pose. I don't really recommend it unless you have something where you can support yourself in front of you. And that would have to be a really heavy, sturdy object. So not just another chair, because there's probably too much potential for it to wiggle and you to lose your balance and fall. So if you feel confident about coming up and you have a block, go ahead and use that block. It's a great activation for the legs and inner thighs. If you don't have the block, you're still about hip width apart. You're still going to walk those heels under you a little bit. So I'm barely just able to see my big toes when I peek down there. Hinge that weight forward. Try to press those heels down. Lift away from the chair, but stay low. Engaging the back and the core. Lots of engagement happening. Maybe my hands are together in front of my chest. But if I want to address whole body, like almost every muscle, here I am. Just breathing, trying to hang out. Chair pose, squeeze those glutes. Everything's engaging. Let's take an inhale to slowly come up. And exhale, take a big sigh. Nice work. Go ahead and take that block away. And if you have a mat, go ahead and bring your chair forward so that you have plenty of mat space behind you. Going to do a little standing sequence that will serve as our balancing work. And again, addressing the whole. So coming to facing the chair, feet hip width apart, a decent amount of space between you and the chair, not so much so that you're having to lean forward. Should be easily resting those hands on the chair. You're going to bend that right knee, lift that right heel, and take a pretty big step back with that right foot. So check out your alignment here. You want the feet to be on what we call train tracks. So parallel lines at that hip width distance. So I want to make sure essentially that I haven't brought that foot in line with the other foot. That's going to make it very challenging to balance. It's going to bring my body mechanics in not the best place. So I want to essentially make sure I'm tracing, and you could even do it this way if you want to. So that hip width apart, I'm tracing that line back. Okay. And so you decide how deep you go in this lunge. The further back you send that right foot, the more sensation you're going to feel and strengthening in that left leg. And here, if you would like to incorporate the arms as well, your balance is okay, you can send that right arm up. So we're here in high lunge. Let's transition to warrior two. So what I'm going to do is start to open this arm out or shoulder if I'm, hand on the hip. Opening out, opening to that warrior two position. So the front leg hasn't really moved much. It's just that back leg, the foot has come down. Now my hips are opening away from the chair. From here, straighten that front leg. Very important, guys, to make sure you're not locking that front knee especially. It's super easy. Watch me go from straight here to locked. Oof, terrible for the joint, but really easy to do without noticing. So make sure you're keeping the quad engaged and you're not letting that knee lock out. Triangle pose. See if you can lean towards that chair, lifting that right arm up. Maybe even resting the forearm on the back of your chair. It really just depends on your height, what kind of chair you're using. Mine happens to work perfectly. I hope you have the same luck. And let's inhale to come up. Back to warrior two. At any point, you can test your balance here, bringing both arms away from the chair. Keep the core engaged. I just noticed I was like, ah. So we want to engage, hold, and let's transition back to that high lunge. So pivoting onto the back toes, my hips now facing the chair. And again, at any point, maybe both hands come away. And you know that, if you start to fall out of it, then you can come back. Let's do that one more time. Normally I do things in 3s or 5s or 10s, but that's kind of a lot. So let's just do it one more time. So we're going to open out, warrior two. So I'm rooting that back foot down, opening the hips to the side. Maybe I'm sending that left arm up. Maybe not. Straightening that front leg, either bringing the hand back to the chair or not. Triangle. If both hands are lifted, try leaning forward just a little bit and then lifting that other arm up. And I do recommend, even if you have great balance, to have this elbow on the chair. You can do triangle with your block. So if you have the flexibility and you have the balance, you might want to give that a try. And let's start to come out of this here. Back to warrior two. One more time on this side. Back to high lunge. One more time on this side. Maybe the arm comes up. And if you're used to perhaps doing yoga on the mat and your balance is pretty good, you can even try stepping that right foot forward to meet the left with no hands. Otherwise, definitely bring one or both hands down to step forward. Shake it out, decompress a little bit. We gotta do the other side. And then we'll take a really nice deep stretch and relaxation. Okay, so facing that chair, set your foundation, those feet hip width apart. Standing nice and tall. And remember the train tracks, parallel lines. So possibly even just tracing back as you look at that foot. They definitely make yoga mats too that have lines on them. You can find one of those if you like, but all right. So once you come into your high lunge here, perhaps that left arm lifts. Think here about engaging the core. So it's really easy to kind of let that anterior pelvic tilt happen. Let yourself dump into this. But I want you to think of engaging, navel to spine, trying to set the ribs over the hips, not letting the ribs flare out. Start to open into Warrior Two. So you're opening to the left, pivoting on those back toes to set that heel down and the whole foot down. And now the hips are opening to that left side. Perhaps that right hand moves away from the chair, even if it's just like a whoop, just testing it out. Slowly start to straighten that front leg. Remember, don't let it lock out. Lift that left arm, lean down towards that right side. So you should be feeling a stretch here in the hamstrings, maybe inner thighs, probably a bunch of different places. And those of you who have a block, you might be using it now, or maybe wait until that second round. So you're nice and warmed up or opened up. Go ahead and start to come back to that Warrior Two. Slowly pivoting back to high lunge. And one more time through that sequence. If you are able to do no hands, I'm just going to demonstrate without holding the chair for this last round, just in case I have folks out there that want to try that. So you've got both arms up. Everyone start to open that left arm out. Open the hip, Warrior Two. Slowly starting to straighten that front leg. If you're doing no hands on the chair, try reaching forward through those right fingertips first, and then sending that hand down either to the chair or maybe to your block. Block placed on the inside of the foot. And slowly start to come up and out of your triangle. Back into Warrior Two. And then slowly back into your high lunge. One more breath here, deep inhale. And on your exhale, step forward, maybe with no hands, if you'd like to test your balance and feel confident about that. And relax. Awesome job, y'all. Let's come back to our chair for our final stretch. You don't have to have mat space in front of you, but I'm just centering here for the camera. So we're going to finish up with seated pigeon pose. Wonderful, wonderful hip opener, back stretch. Honestly, if you can only do, don't know if I even want to say this because how can you only do one stretch in a day? But I really think if you can only do one stretch in your day, this is the one to do because it hits so many important muscles. Looking at all of these rotator muscles in the back of the hip, like your piriformis, these guys tend to cinch down on the sciatic nerve and cause back pain, numbness in the leg, and other issues. It also stretches the back as well. So it's kind of a really powerful one to do. So if you have issue crossing, so two options, ankle crosses or ankle crosses at knee or ankle crosses at ankle. If you're so close, like you're here and you just feel like you can't get that knee up enough to cross that ankle, it might help to do the towel. So sometimes we can kind of get a little more lift there to be able to cross that ankle. Those of you with hip replacements, this one is a safe one for you to do as long as your body's not telling you otherwise. Because we're actually externally rotating the hips. Your doctor might have told you, like, don't cross your legs, and yes, that's bad. But because the knee is out to the side, we're actually externally rotating, not internally rotating at that hip joint. So just a little note here, make sure your ankle's not pressing into the top of your thigh. That's pretty uncomfortable. You can have your right hand very gently on the leg here. Don't press on the knee. Don't push very hard, because as you start to hinge forward, you'll feel that stretch. And it's okay if your knee's like up in towards your chest. That just means you're a little less flexible, and eventually you'll be able to open out more. So again, you can just very gently see if you can press that or get that knee down by pressing on the thigh. So you're just hinging as far forward as you want to. It's up to you how deep you go, how much sensation you get in this stretch. And remember, you might be crossing at the ankle. And in that case, you probably are hinging forward a little bit further. So we're going to hang out here for like about a minute, maybe a little more, if you can. So just deep breathing. You might want to bring back that square breathing that we did in the beginning of class. Try to relax everywhere else in the body that you can. If you're squeezing the eyebrows together, clenching the jaw, hunching those shoulders up, try to relax all of that. And even here, I'm trying to keep my spine lengthened. Okay, very slowly start to come up and out of this stretch. When we've held a stretch for a little bit longer, it's important to move slowly coming out of it. Very gently just kind of guide that leg off and down. Just notice the differences in the legs. My right leg feels 5 times bigger than my left leg. Super interesting. All right, so let's just switch it out. If you need to do any kind of decompressive movements, that's fine. But we want to switch sides now. So drawing that knee in to either cross ankle over knee or ankle over ankle. And it might be that one side you can get ankle over knee and the other side you can't. That's okay to be a little bit uneven in the stretch, but we want to work towards doing the same thing on both sides. So remember, you can take that left hand and press very gently on the thigh, not the knee joint, but you probably don't need to as you start to hinge forward into this stretch. Oh, yeah. So you want to get to what I call sometimes your sweet spot or your edge, where, like you just heard me say, oh yeah, that was my sweet spot. So I hit that point where I was like, okay, yes, I feel the intensity here, but it's not too much to where I want to just scream. So we don't want the no pain, no gain mentality, but we also don't want to be too wary of actually going deep enough to benefit. Couple more deep breaths here. Well, really a little more than a couple more. Maybe incorporating a few rounds of your square breathing. And just to refresh your memory, that's a 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, 4-count exhale, 4-count hold. You might find that as you're holding it here, especially because we're doing about 1.5 minutes, that you can start to go a little deeper towards these last few seconds. Okay, when you've had enough, again, very slowly start to come out of the stretch. Slowly uncross. And let's get ready for Shavasana, everyone's favorite. Well, maybe not, but very important posture. Please don't skip this one. I know there are some of you out there that are like, okay, cool. It's about time now. I'm done. All she's doing is laying right now. I don't need to do that. Please try it. This pose is so important to really integrate the practice, to really teach our body to be able to go from working to resting and back and forth. And energetically, even if you don't really believe in the energetic side of yoga, energetically, it's thought that this is the pose that allows you to integrate everything that you've done in the whole practice. This is how it settles in and connects mind, body, spirit. So give it a shot. At least it's a nice little 3-minute nap. So go ahead and shift over to your couch, your armchair, or get more comfortable in your chair, or lay down. That's really the way it's traditionally done, is laying flat on your back. But that's just usually not very comfortable for most people to do. So again, that's why maybe you can go lay on your couch or some other surface that gives you a little more support than the floor. But if you would like to, I really recommend laying down, putting your legs up in the chair. So I'm not going to go through how to do that just for the sake of time, but you can kind of see how I got into it. Definitely want to scoot the hips forward before you come down. But legs in the chair is a variation of legs up the wall, where you'd actually be laying with the wall against you. And since I'm down here, I'm going to just stay on down here, y'all. So relaxing the body, maybe the hands come to the lap if you're seated. If you're laying down, hands can maybe come to solar plexus, belly, or arms open by the sides. If you've got your hair pulled back, if you have longer hair, you may want to take that out just so you can really relax the neck and the head appropriately. And so this is a time to relax, to let the body just sink deeply into whatever you're laying on or sitting on. So you might want to just do a quick little scan of the body from head to toe. And maybe even stopping at each point. So thinking forehead, thinking nose, thinking mouth. And each point that you go through, relaxing that area. Chest and shoulders, arms and hands, abdomen and back, hips and glutes, thighs and the backs of the thighs, knees, shins and calves, feet and toes. Just feeling your body fully relaxed, dense and heavy as it rests into the support of the surface that you're on. Begin with your next inhale to draw it in a little deeper, to exhale a little fuller. Each breath drawing in a sense of alertness, lightness, ease. And shift that breath to start to bring a little movement back to the body, just with the toes and the fingers first. And then the ankles and the wrists. Arms and legs. Maybe taking a nice stretch through the fingers and the toes. And slowly begin to make your way to a seated position if that's accessible to you. And if you're laying on the ground, you can stay there, or if you're laying on the couch, you can stay there to finish class. But if you'd like to come up and you are in a position that I was in with legs on the chair, you'll just roll over to one side. Maybe pause there for a moment, pressing into your hand to kind of help bring you up. And of course, you have the chair there that you can use for support if you need it. And just making your way to a seated position. Sorry, I'm fidgeting with my microphone box. Drawing the palms together in front of the heart. Seeing what comes up for you after practice today. Maybe it's just a sense of well-being, love, happiness, or something totally different, or all of those things. Just see what comes up. Thank you all so much for joining me today and for doing something so wonderful for your mind, body, and spirit. Namaste. As always, if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, reach out to me. My info's on the hub under staff. Aline is my name. And if you can't find that information or you don't do the hub, don't hesitate to call the front desk and get my info. I'd love to hear from you. Hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Bye.